We naturally lose muscle mass at the rate of about 10% per decade after the age of 50. This is a scary fact, but it doesn't have to be this way. In this video, I'll share how you can maintain and grow your muscles even as you age. We all want to live long and healthy lives into our 90s or even older. But more importantly, we want to be able to function and live independently at that age. Unfortunately, as many folks age, they often encounter health conditions that inhibit an active lifestyle. In fact, over 90% of seniors over the age of 65 deal with at least one chronic illness or ailment. Unfortunately, our sedentary lives often lead to declining health as we get older. Oftentimes, we'll just write off this decline in health as something that just happens. We'll say, well, that's just a part of getting old. But the reality is that it doesn't have to be this way. By building and retaining our muscle mass as we age, we can live and remain active well into our 90s and beyond. Modern life is sedentary. In fact, most Americans spend over 90% of their waking hours in a seated position. Even if you're the type of person who exercises for an hour each morning, if you spend the rest of your day sitting down, you're simply not active enough. Our bodies are designed to be mobile. If we sit all day, we gradually lose muscle mass. Over time, this muscle loss leads to the overall decline in our health. Muscle is the cornerstone of health and strength. Our bodies simply can't function without it. As muscle mass declines, our joints begin to ache and our balance worsens. Conditions such as sarcopenia, arthritis, spinal stenosis, and many others become more likely. This creates a snowball effect where we are less and less active over time. As scary as it sounds, our inactivity is often what causes our decline. An ACSM study from 2018 showed low muscle strength was independently associated with an elevated risk of all-cause mortality. This study followed over 4,000 people over the age of 50. It also found that mortality risks significantly increased for people who are sedentary more than 3 hours each day. This means that those who sit for extended periods of time have a much higher risk of chronic illness. The good news is that this can all be reversed. By working specific muscle groups, slowly building back strength over time, and adjusting your diet, you can regain muscle mass and become more active and independent. The best time to plant a tree might have been 20 years ago. But the next best time is today. It is a daunting task, but I'm confident that you can do it. In this video, I'll show you how to start small and continue progressing over time. Before you know it, you'll feel like you're 20 years younger. Let's start by setting some goals. Take this part seriously and ask yourself, what are some things that you want to be able to do when you're older? For me, it's being able to throw a football around with my kids and hopefully one day my grandkids, play golf regularly, and independently work around my house. Maybe you want to be able to lift heavy objects like your luggage into the overhead bin while you're traveling the world into your 90s. No goal is too large when you're dedicated to your muscle health and strength. If you've seen other videos on our channel, you probably know that the first key to strength and independence in seniors is your legs. By the way, please subscribe to The Active Adult by clicking the button below. This really helps our channel and allows us to keep providing this free content for you each week. Leg strength is so important because it is directly tied to functional mobility, fall prevention, balance, stability, and cardiovascular health. A 2022 study from the Journal of Gerontology even found that lower extremity strength is positively correlated with cognitive ability. This means that having stronger legs can also keep your mind sharp as you age. So what leg muscles should be our priority? We should start with our quads, our hamstrings, our glutes, and our calves. There are so many great exercises to work these muscles, and we've shared a lot of them on this channel in the past. The key is to start small and then work your way up to more difficult variations of each exercise. Speaking of the quads, a great beginner level exercise is seated knee extensions. These are so great because you can easily do them throughout your day. All you need is something to sit on and maybe an ankle weight if you want to progress it to make it a little bit more difficult. You simply extend your leg while you're seated, like this. You want to make sure that you control this motion, quality, even at the top, make sure you're really trying to make those muscles pop and tighten that skin around your knee, and then let it off nice and smooth. I'm not going to set a limit on this because this is not a real difficult resistance training exercise. It's more about the neuromuscular control. You want to go until you feel a little bit of burn. So that could be 10, 15, 20 reps, and hold it for a second or two at the end just to really pop that quad muscle that focuses on the last little bit of knee extension. If this exercise is too easy, then go ahead and skip over it and begin at level 2. The next progression will be an exercise for your glutes called bridges. You can do this exercise laying down on a carpeted floor or surface like a rug, soft surface like a rug, even on your bed as long as it's not too soft. And the good thing about this exercise is it can easily be made more difficult by either adding a weight to your hips, or even you can even do this with one leg once you get really strong. You're going to start off on your back. I like to use a pillow just in case you have neck issues. I don't want you to hurt your neck by kind of extending. You want to bring your feet nice and flat. And the key to this exercise is creating a nice stable base. So by tightening your core and driving through your heels, you're going to use your hips to lift and extend, focusing all the effort into your glutes. If you don't focus on tightening your core, then you'll notice that you might be extending your back and you get a little bit of an arch in your back, and you'll notice your belly will want to shoot up towards the ceiling. So tighten your stomach, set that like a brick, push through your heels until you can't go any higher without arching your back. You might even feel a little bit of stretch in the front of your hip flexors because the hip extensors, or the glutes, are the direct opposite muscle as your hip flexors. I only need you to hold it for a couple seconds and then let it back down nice and slow. We're going to shoot for 10 to 12 repetitions, 2-second holds, lower it back down nice and slow, and after you're done with a set of that, take a break for about 30 seconds and repeat it 2 more times. Another great exercise to work the quads and the glutes together is the sit to stand. This is level 3 of our progression. We love this exercise and have shown it many times on our channel. This is the perfect introduction to the bodyweight squat, which, you guessed it, is coming up next. I'm going to go over this real quickly. We have a lot of other videos, like I said, that go into more detail on this. But the focus on a sit to stand is that you want to be powerful on the way up and controlled on the way down, no plopping. So scoot forward just a little bit in the chair, bring your heels back underneath your knees, hinge forward at the hips, drive through your feet, and stand up with confidence. Sit down by sticking your butt back, hinging at the hips again, and sitting down with control. Repeat that 10 times, take a little break in between each set, and work your way up to 2 to 3 sets total. Once you've mastered the sit to stand, it's time to start squatting. This is the final exercise in our progression for the quads and the glutes. Squatting is something that many of our senior patients are intimidated by, but they shouldn't be. Follow the progression, keep building your leg strength, and you'll be squatting in no time. So all I did is I switched out the chair, turned it around so that I have the back of the chair here to hold on to as I sink down into my squat. And to be honest with you, a squat is kind of like a sit to stand, but there's no chair behind you. So you want to stick your butt back, do a little bit of hinge at the hips, sit with your weight kind of over your heel, maybe hover your hands here, get as deep as you can, and come back up. The goal is to be able to get to like 90 degrees or even lower at your knees. Sitting down, pushing up. Feels nice and comfortable, and I'm going to do that until I feel a good fatigue or I get to about 12 repetitions. Take a break, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, get your breath back, let the fatigue go away, and then repeat 2 or 3 more sets. Okay, so we've worked the glutes and the quads, but what about the calves? Calf strength is an extremely important component for senior fitness and mobility. The single best exercise for strengthening your calves is called the heel raise. What's great about the heel raise is it can be modified a couple different ways to make it more difficult or easier to fit your needs exactly. So we're going to start off with just a simple two-legged heel raise from the floor. I have a countertop here that I can keep my fingertips on for safety. This is a calf strengthening exercise with a little bit of bonus balance component. It's not a balance exercise with a little bit of calf strengthening. So when people try not to hold on, sometimes they don't end up getting as high with their heel raise. So I would rather you focus on keeping a fingertip or two to let you focus on the heel raise itself. So I'm going to go up on my toes and back down. What I want you to try and be careful of is that you don't like rock too far forward, that you kind of just ride the elevator straight up. So as best as you can, straight up and down. We're going to do this 10 times or until we feel a nice burn in the calves, and repeat that a couple sets, 2 to 3 sets. If it's too easy, or if you feel like you can challenge yourself a little bit more, step 2 of the progression is to go up onto a small step like the one I have here and do what we call a deficit heel raise. So you're going to start off by dropping your heels down towards the floor, and that's your starting point. Go up towards the top and then slowly lower it back down. The lowering phase is really important, so make sure you go nice and slow. So same motion as a heel raise, only you're getting a greater range of motion, working your muscles in a more challenging way. Once that becomes easy because your strength is getting better, then you can even go to a single leg heel raise, which will make it about twice as hard. So the first progression into a single leg heel raise is going with 2 legs on the way up, lifting one off and going down with one. 2 legs up, down with one. That's a little bit easier than the final stage of going up and down with one. Go until you feel really fatigued. Even if you don't get done with 10 in one shot, that's okay. Say you get done with 5 and your calf muscle is just toast, stop there, give it 30 seconds, and then finish them. So we've shown a few great exercise progressions for building leg strength, but what about the other parts of your body? The core is the next main muscle group that we should focus on. Core strength plays a key role in preventing injuries to your back and keeping you stable while moving about your daily tasks. Let's start our core progression with abdominal bracing. The abdominal brace is more of a neurological strengthening exercise, just designed to get your brain used to isolating and contracting and relaxing your core muscles. So you can do this on your bed as long as it's not too soft. If you have a soft rug or mat that you can get down and off the floor safely on, that's probably even better. But you want to bend your knees, put your feet flat, and if I took a grape and I put it under the small of my back, I want to think about tightening my stomach and smushing that grape. So it's not going to be a big motion, but you'll see it if you pay attention here. There we go. And what I felt there is I felt the natural curvature of my back flatten out and almost push into the table. And it should be kind of hard to talk while you're doing this, but you shouldn't hold your breath. I don't want you to turn purple and pass out on me. So you're going to relax and repeat that about 20 times. Again, this is not a very difficult exercise. It's more about developing the motor patterns. Next up in the progression are miniature crunches. So you're going to use the same muscles that you just used in the abdominal brace, only now you're going to take it one step further. So I'm going to cross my arms. If you have history of neck issues, you can put your hands behind your head and support your neck a little bit. But you're going to cross your arms, keep your chin tucked a little bit, and you're going to flatten that belly, push the lower back into the table, and just unweight your back and your shoulders off the table. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to lower down slow. If you do this right, you'll feel yourself shaking a little bit in your core. So you're up and then you're lowering it down nice and slow. Try not to hold your breath. And not much going on here, so you don't have to worry about hurting your back like you might worry about if you were doing like a full sit-up or something. The key thing you want to do is you don't want to hold your feet down. So if you have a partner here, don't let them hold your feet. You want to use just your core muscles. And when you have someone hold your feet during a crunch, then you're able to cheat and use your hip flexors a little bit, which could just take away from the benefit of getting your abdominals stronger. The third progression is called a modified plank. We're going to get into planking because it's a really good exercise that teaches you the core stability that you need when you're doing functional tasks like picking up objects, opening and closing heavy doors, things like that. The premise is that your core should stay nice and stable while you do the other things with your arms and your legs. So I have a countertop here, and remember that the higher the countertop, the more of an incline you have, which means the less the force of gravity is playing on your weight. So the higher up progression will be easier. As we progress this plank exercise, we'll be going down lower, which I'll show you in a little bit. So you're going to put your forearms on. I like to hold my hands here and then walk your feet back until you feel a nice challenge. Now I'm going to tighten my core because I don't want my back to arch here. So I'm going to tighten my core and keep a nice flat lower back and just hold that. We're going to hold that for about 15 seconds to start. If you get to 30 seconds and you're still able to do it pretty easily, then I want you to make it a little bit harder. All right, we're going to lower down now our anchor point. So I went from about a table or a countertop this high. I'm going down to a table now. Probably a little bit higher than your bed, depending on how high your bed is, but that would be a great starting point for you. So going down on my forearms, I'm going to bring my feet back. I'm going to get my core tight and kind of tuck that tail a little bit, keep your body like a nice straight board, and I'm just going to hold that 30 seconds. Now, I can feel more body weight because I'm getting more close to that straight plank position, and the way that I would progress this is by changing my arm and my leg position. So I can lift off one arm, trying not to twist and turn too much, but just trying to keep everything as still as possible and lift one arm off. Maybe hold that for 10 seconds. Switch arms, 10 seconds. Then I can lift one leg, and I could always lift the other leg. You'll feel the different muscles in your core work depending on which arm or which leg is lifted off. If that becomes too easy, you can always go down to a pure straight plank position where you're parallel with the ground or your bed, whichever you're doing it on. And that'll just put the full force of gravity down through your arms and your core so that you get the most out of that exercise. The final area we'll work is your upper back, shoulders, and arms. This area is important because it directly relates to your functional independence and posture. By strengthening these muscles, you could also see a reduction in pain that affects your upper back and shoulders. We'll start by simply lying prone on a bed or soft surface. So, lying prone or lying on your stomach, we're going to do 3 exercises. We're going to start off kind of letting your head overhang a little bit. It's okay if your chin touches a little bit, but I don't want you to have your whole body over the table, but I don't want you to be back here either to where you can't breathe. So I like to position my head just about halfway off. Bring your hands back by your side, and together you're going to pinch your shoulder blades and lift your hands. Make sure you do those 2 things together, because if you just lift your hands and leave your shoulders on the table, it could cause impingement and pain. So you want to pinch and lift, lower it down nice and slow. You're going to do that 10 times, and then you're going to go on to the second exercise called tees. So your hands are going to be hanging over the edge. If you're on a big bed and you can't do this right, then you can position yourself off of the corner of the bed like this and let your arms hang over the corner. But I'm going to let my arms dangle. I'm going to pinch my shoulder blades and lift up and let it back down. We're going to do that 10 times, and then we're going to change the angle one more time. I'm going to put my hands more out in front, and we're going to do Ys. So I'm going to pinch and lift. You might notice you're not able to come as high on this one, and that's okay because you might be stiff in your shoulders. And if you start to feel a little bit of pain there, then modify it. Bring it down a little bit just until you're able to do it pain-free. You're engaging those muscles in your upper back, and even if it doesn't feel like you're doing much, just getting yourself in a prone position and doing this is going to be really good for your posture. If you're dealing with some low back problems and lying prone is too uncomfortable for you, you can take a pillow like this and you can set it underneath your hips. Just by putting a couple inches of support under your belly, that can make things a little bit more comfortable. The next step in our upper back progression is rows. This is one we've shown a few times on our channel before. For this exercise, you'll need bands. We use these Stroops bands in our clinic. I love that they have the protected sleeves on them so that if the latex bands inside happen to break, that they're not going to come back and snap you in the eye or hurt you. So I'll actually link to these in the description below so that if you want to pick up a pair, they have all kinds of cool options with anchoring them to your wall or even strapping to your door so that you don't have to drill any holes. They come in different strengths. I like to buy the light, the medium, and the heavy. For this one, I'm picking the heavy bands. I'm going to start off by walking back with my arms extended until you take all the slack out of the bands. Then I'm going to get my base nice and wide, feet shoulder width apart or so. Get a little bit of an athletic position by having a little bit of bend in your hips and your knees. And then I'm going to pinch my shoulder blades and pull back at the same time. Letting it go nice and slow. Working those muscles in the shoulders and the upper back. And I'm going to do this 12 to 15 reps or until I feel a good burn in the muscles of the back. The final level of our upper body progression is the good old-fashioned push-up. We'll start with the countertop push-ups first for the same reason we did on the planks. The higher of an incline you are, the less gravity is weighing your body down, making it easier. So I put my hands out on the countertop, get my feet nice and wide, walk my legs backwards until I feel like I'm in a good starting position. Some people will put their hands on top of the countertop. What worries me about that is if you slip, you could take a bite out of that countertop. So I like to hook my thumb underneath it. And when I lower myself down, think about applying the same core bracing that you did when you did planks so that when you do this, your back doesn't sag. You lower yourself down like a 2x4. I'm going to pinch my shoulder blades and come towards the wall and push my shoulder blades apart as I do the push-up. You want to make sure that your elbows don't chicken wing out to the side high by your ears when you do this. You want to let them find that neutral zone in the middle as you come forward. Do this about 10 times, and if it's nice and challenging, by the time you get through the 10th one, then we're going to stick right with this exercise. If you get through 10 and you didn't feel challenged at all, then you start hunting for surfaces like the side of your bed or the arm of a couch, things that are a little bit lower. Lowering yourself down will make it harder. Finally, you can get right into a full-blown straight push-up from the ground. That's going to be the hardest of these progressions. If after a while these exercises become too easy, it's time to move into working out in the gym with weights, using barbells, dumbbells, or other equipment you find in the gym. We hope that by doing some of these exercises, it creates a positive snowball effect, and before you know it, you're exercising at a level that you wouldn't have thought possible just a short time ago. For more details about excellent squat progressions for seniors, check out this video. Until next time.